Hello and welcome to episode 152 of the Gaming Duel, where friendships are built through gaming. Our final episode of the year. I'm Kelvin, the Kevlar Vest, your host for this week, and joining me is none other than co-host Rob, the Robot. If you're joining me for the first time, thank you. Thank you for tuning in. We are the podcast that keeps you, the gamers, up to date on the latest news and heated discussions about the gaming industry. Rob, how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. I want to go. Today's my birthday, by the way. It's happy birthday to me.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, Lance. I appreciate it. By the way, this is our guest, Mr. Lance Williams.
We have a special guest today on our show, a personal friend of mine, an actor and a writer who's been nominated for Best Lead Performance at Nightmares Film Festival for the short film Come Home, amongst many more amazing achievements. Let's welcome Lance Williams. Lance, bud, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate it, man.
Oh, hang on. I gotta give you a...
There you go.
I love it, man. I love it.
There you go. How you been, man?
Good, man. It's been it's Los Angeles, so it never stops. But I'm not shoveling snow, so there's a huge benefit there.
What's Los Angeles like theme? Like New York, the city that never sleeps. What's like Los Angeles kind of like?
City of Angels.
City of Angels.
You mean like City? I think it's like
City of Angels.
Sunshine State, something like that.
Yeah.
Sunshine State.
Sunshine State.
I think it's Florida. I'm pretty sure it's Florida.
Yeah, I think that's Florida. I think so.
What's their state?
I mean, California is nice too. I mean, it's
I
always sunny there, right? It's always sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah. Is that kind of like a, you know what I mean? Like I don't know.
Yeah.
Florida should be called the crackhead state, is what it should be.
No,
Florida. Florida should be right.
I feel like Cali give it enough for its money. At least Hollywood. Whew.
Listen,
I heard mixed things about Hollywood. Like every time, like when I went to Cali, they were like, "Oh, you can't wait to see Hollywood because you're like that's what's in the movies and stuff like that." And then you go and they're like, Hollywood's not that great. It's kind of like it's like a certain part that's like good, and that's it.
Right. Yeah. Where we actually live is in Hollywood. We're right behind the Chinese Theater. So
oh wow.
I say we're in like the most magical part of Los Angeles, where you're behind the Chinese Theater, but in front of the Magic Castle. So on any given day, like a big movie premiere, there's wizards coming and going.
Jesus.
It's a land of make believe, man.
Man, land of make believe.
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Lance, man, I appreciate you coming through and just kind of hanging out with us, talking about gaming news and stuff. But for those that don't know you, I mean, I gave you guys a snippet of what he's achieved. There, I can go on. There's a list of things that he's done. I mean, this man has been in multiple acting gigs, multiple movies. The Whitney Houston movie he's been in, Tough Love, which is a really cool TV series, which I watched a few episodes, which is really cool. The Equalizer 2. Like, you've been in so many things, but I want you to explain what you've been and just kind of like give us like the role of what you've been up to in these past few years that I haven't seen you in forever. So what's your gig, man?
Tough, man. Yeah, so the biggest highlights really been like the Equalizer 2 was the first one that really sort of broke things open a bit more, which was the motivation to come out to Los Angeles. Because after acting in Boston for so long, right, you get opposite Denzel Washington in your own scene, and you go, the fuck happens after that while I'm here? Like, you know what I mean? I got to go somewhere else now. So I became Los Angeles. And then I just kept going back to Boston for work. They love me out there. So I went back. It was a Whitney Houston biopic. Did the series. Kevin can fucking stuff. It was like 4 episodes of that. Just bouncing around, chasing after one film after another. And then, like I said, Tough Love, which I mean that was huge because at that point they were a long-running series. I think we were probably their 6th season, third spin-off that they had done. In our first season alone, we had the highest views, accumulated views for a season out of everything they had done. I think we were like 3 million or something.
Wow.
So you could just feel the train running, So I feel very grateful and fortunate for the fact that these things have gone the way that they have. And then even now, we're in production on a development or an adaptation of the 2014 movie Nightingale. That was with David Oyelowo, and I'm going to be playing the lead in that one. So we're going to be doing it as a stage play. Which is great because the writer Frederick Mensch, when he's originally a playwright, so getting to take the work that he had there, which was, if you haven't seen it, it's an incredible movie. But then okay, let's put it where this guy was originally thinking and see what we can do with it is really exciting.
That's awesome, man. I don't know if you would mind if I show the fans a clip of like, especially at the Equalizer 2, because when I knew you were in it,
Always,
obviously, right? But
always.
I put it on for my wife, Alaris, just so she can see it.
Yeah,
And she obviously knows you, but she didn't know that
yeah,
you were
yeah.
in this movie. And so putting it on, it took her a while, but she finally understood. Like, she's like, "Wait, is that Lance?" And I'm like, "Yep." So I just wanted to show the fans here because I thought it was pretty
Always,
funny.
please do. Thank you.
And it's a pretty
There it
dope
is.
scene too. So here it is. Yeah, 1 second. And there we go.
Get up. You know her name? No, sir. Her name is Amy. Give me that. You ever see Star Trek? Very good.
That was just a little
for Amy.
Yeah.
That's so sick.
But
That was such a cool
it's
job. Like, you want to talk about? I was scared for a second. I was like, "Have I peaked?" Because it was the first big job I ever got, and they were like, "You're gonna be up to Denzel. You're gonna be okay. You're gonna handle that." And I was like, we're just two actors. We'll be fine." And then he shows up, and you're like, "Holy shit, that's fucking Denzel Washington." Oh,
how did
and he
that
was
feel for you though? Like,
Yeah,
like
we just,
what
like,
did you
weirded out.
feel? Yeah.
fucking terrified.
Yeah.
Terrified initially.
That's
I'm
true.
like nervous
That's
as shit going into it, but then you get there, right? And it worked out the best, I think, for me personally with the experience, because first day we weren't shooting any of my coverage. So you still
Okay.
want to be present, right? You still want to be involved in like doing your thing and trying to give things to other actors, because you never know if somebody looks this way and they see you and like inspires. You don't know. It's very finicky. But that first day, I could just kind of relax a bit and just go, okay, let me find my space and then just try to enjoy this. So I'm like, well, I think I'm a funny guy, so I'll try to find moments to like you chat with people. And I actually had some beats where I got to like chat with Denzel, which was really fun. And he laughing and joking, really like these. And I thought, oh, okay, so this is not this. I don't need to be as worried about this as I think I do. Like, I can just do this. Like, I belong here, so we're good. And then each day that went on, and once we got to like my actual coverage, man, he was just a dream, because that entire scene is not scripted. Like, that was
Really?
Improv?
you show up on the day, and they were like, "Here's the situation," and now
That's
Denzel is going to come in. You guys going to try some stuff. I'm like, all right,
I guess. Okay.
That's right up my alley.
Like, one thing to have a
Like that.
scripted scene and then go, "Don't fuck these lines up and do this good because it's with Denzel." It's nothing to go make some shit up, don't fuck it up, and be in the scene with Denzel. So it was a really quick lesson in how you show up and how you prepare, and just say fuck it and going after it, man. You got to take a leap of faith. And he was
Absolutely.
just a fantastic scene partner. So I mean, that if you're gonna have that scenario, it with one of the greats is the best bet.
100%. Yeah. And I'm sure he made you feel comfortable enough to just kind of do your thing. And
Sure.
I'm sure the advice that he gave you was allowing you to kind of like do the best you can with what you had, right? And
Yeah,
I think
he told me it was after we'd finished all my coverage on the third day, and I shook his hand and thanked him, because I was, I was really nervous about the scene, because like I kept crying on some stuff. And he was like, you know why you're nervous? I said, why? He said, because you have expectations. I said, oh, that's true. So you know why we have expectations? So I know Mr. Washington. Why? I'm like, I'm all fucking in. I want to know everything now.
yeah.
It's Max's no discipline lead. And I thought, this guy's so fucking cool, man. But what a gem also. Like,
Yep.
yeah, we do have the expectations because we think we're not wrong. So we have this.
Also, that's such a Denzel thing to say, right? Like, I feel like that would be 100% what he would say to you, right? That's
absolutely. And I was like, is that in the script?
Yeah, right. Is this man always just like acting? Like, is this just like what he does 24/7?
He was the coolest, absolutely coolest.
That's awesome. Rob, it's your birthday, like you said. How was it? I mean, it's pretty much the end of your birthday, but what you do?
We just like went out and grabbed some food and went to a nice brewery. And it was mostly a nice day until we came home, and my puppy tore up a bunch of stuff. She tore up a clay like key holder that we thought she like ate it because we couldn't find the other piece. I'm like, well, this is it, time to go.
Yep,
like, you know what I mean? Like, yep. See ya.
Yep.
She tore up like a Christmas tree thing that her and her mom made that they had for like a year and stuff like that. And it was just shit everywhere. I was just like, oh my god, here we go. So we had to like clean. She went through plants. Like, it was just chaos when we came in. But everything is all good because I'm with you guys. We're talking about the Equalizer, and we're talking about
Video game news, bro.
Yeah, the video game news. So
also that jacket, fire. Like,
thank you.
It's like an olive green, right? It looks like is it Yeah, it looks fire. It looks dope. I like it. Yeah.
Shout out.
The snake eater on.
What'd you say?
Alf Drake. You got the snake eater on.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes.
Yep. Camouflage. Although you stick out like a sore thumb, but
oh yeah, it would be caught immediately. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, dogs are okay, man. Like to eat a bunch of stuff. Actually, your dog's all right.
That's true. So she's doing okay.
Yeah,
right,
she's fine. She's just smacked her butt and she's good.
There you go.
That's it. That's all.
Our full episodes are up Fridays exclusively on your favorite podcast services. You can watch the main topics of the show on YouTube every Wednesday. That's youtube.com/thegamingduo podcast. You can support us by heading on over to thegamingduopod.com, leaving us a 5-star review, and checking out our merch store. That obviously helps us out a lot. And guys, let's get into the news.
Let's do it.
All right. We have a bunch of stuff to talk about. No, actually, no. Let me take that step back. We don't have much to talk about, but I think we have enough meaty topics to kind of make a pretty good conversation going on here. Rapid fire news, which include Insomniac breaks silence on a data breach, Sony feeling the pressure due to increased development cost, and a God of War trilogy rumored for 2024. Let's start with the first one here. Insomniac breach Insomniac breaks on the data breach here. So we talked about this a little bit last week in regards to the whole, the whole situation with Insomniac and the data breach. Right. If you guys are not familiar with the whole story, on Tuesday, a ransomware group released more than 1.3 million stolen files, totaling 1.67 terabytes of containing information on Insomniac's future titles and confidential staff information. This is from VGC. Now the studio has officially responded, explaining the lasting effects the attack has had on the staff. Quote, "We are aware that the stolen data includes personal information belonging to our employees, former employees, and independent contractors. It also includes early development details about Marvel's Wolverine for PlayStation 5. We continue working quickly to determine what data was impacted. This experience has been extremely distressing for us. We want everyone to enjoy the game we developed as intended and as our players deserve." So the news broke out last week. Everyone was kind of like in distraught in a sense, because this is probably, I would put it up there with one of the higher leaks since GTA 6. I would think so. Because GTA 6 was pretty bad, but this one has like personal information. This one has like future contracts that are, Insomniac is working on like in the future, and of course Wolverine, which is their latest title that they're going to be working on, hopefully releasing soon. But we know a lot of information regarding that. So what do you guys think about this breach, and what do you guys think about Insomniac's their whole response to this whole thing? Rob, I'll start with you. Rob, I can't hear you right now.
That's because I was muted. So the $2 million, I'm glad I didn't pay it. Right, it's good. These things happen. I don't want to say they happen all the time, but it's happening more frequently. So I think companies should kind of like be prepared in a sense that it could happen to them, right? Because it's not the first time. So I think they just kind of like, all right, it is what it is. It got out. Mm-hmm. And I think I was listening to Kind of Funny Games. They made a really good point. Shout out to Greg and Greg. Shout out to Greg and Tim. Greg and Tim. But they basically said along the lines that the game is such in an early state right now that what you're going to see at the end product is completely different, right? So it doesn't take away from the game, right? And I think that's what a lot of people think is like when they see all those leaks, oh my god, the game looks like crap, or it doesn't look as good as I want it to. That's not the case here, right? It's just you're seeing kind of like just blueprints, but they're not anything yet. They're literally not anything yet. Once you see when they release the trailers, that's when everything kind of comes together and looks like a actual complete finished product. So I would say everything you're seeing with these leaks, take it with a grain of salt. It's sketches, and it's a work in progress, just like how everything starts. And then once you finally, all right, we're done. Here's a finished product, and it looks like, oh my god, everyone's blown away. So it doesn't take away from people, and Insomniac shouldn't feel, I don't want to say don't feel bad. They obviously do feel bad, right? But don't feel bad, Insomniac. Everything's going to be all right. We're still going to love Wolverine when you put it out. So, yeah, it sucks, but there's always a silver lining, I guess, right? What do you, Lance?
For sure.
Oh, man, the thing that's bugged me the most about seeing it play out, I think Insomniac's handling it really well. but looking at how when the initial release happened, how quick people were to sort of cycle that information, especially on social media, right? And I get it, right? Like as fans of the titles, right? And a long time Wolverine X-Men fan, I'm like, fuck yeah, I get to see some more about this game. This is shit. And then when you look at it, you're like, oh, this is a leak. Oh, okay. Well, who the fuck wanted to show everybody the like previs, like the stuff that's not even done? Like, what do you get out of that? And then I'm like, oh, this is the lights. This is drumming up just content. And I go, okay. But at a certain point, if you're a fan of this thing, say for example, like some of the pages I saw it on with these huge gaming pages, with these huge comic book pages, and I go, but shouldn't you have some kind of responsibility to this art form that has allowed you to have this platform? If your page is all about comic books, your page doesn't exist without comic books. All the likes and follows don't exist without the comic book. So shouldn't you have some integrity there and go, you know what, this would give me a shit ton of traffic, but where's the integrity in the back end after that, right? And instead of just going, you know what, it's cool, and I've seen it, and that's it, but I'm not going to perpetuate it. I would have liked to see, and I think there's a little bit more of it happening now, a little more integrity around circulation of the exact content itself, like seeing the entire slate or seeing the actors that were casting some of the roles, which is, there are a few that are so goddamn exciting, but at the same time, it's like, it would have been cool to just get it by itself. It's no different than like looking at the leaked images of Deadpool, where you go, yeah, this is great, but like, wouldn't it have been the shit to go into the theater and just have it right then? Like, think about when Captain America picks up the hammer in Endgame.
Right.
Like, that exciting moment doesn't happen, right?
Yeah.
I think we benefit from allowing things to just be behind the closed doors of whatever studio is making the project, and then get it the way they want us to.
Yes, dude. I think you nailed it. And it's funny. I'm sure these major studios or these major websites had conversations of like, all right, or maybe they didn't, but I would hope they were like, hey, this is a massive leak. How do we handle the situation, right? Because even like us, we're a tiny, a little small podcast here, but we had a conversation of like, all right, how do we tackle this news? And we opted not to disclose any of the information that it had. We just talked, kind of like danced around the topic, but we still had a conversation about it. But again, like you said, it's clicks, man. That's going to drive attention. That's going to drive people to be on their website. And at the end of the day, that's a business, and that's what they want. Right. And to each their own. But for us, I feel like that was the best way to handle the conversation. I think Insomniac handled the situation as best as they could. They posted a statement. They said what they had to say. And, now they're just doing their due diligence and trying to work on all the issues that came about it. But I think it sucks for the developers and for the team, just because, like you said, Lance, this is not the way they wanted us to see the game, right? The game is still years away, and it just sucks to have a project that you're working on, something that you're really dedicated on for years, months, whatever it is, to have it be released and shown to the public the way it was. I mean, I'm sure if something happened to you, Lance, I think it's a perfect example where if a movie or something that you've been working on for a while just got leaked, or someone just like, posted it on social.
Bad takes where I suck, and everyone's like, oh, this guy's terrible. It's like that kind of shit, right? Like all the stuff that you don't want, like, oh, this doesn't work. This doesn't make the scene work. Or this makes the movie actually bad. No one wants to see that. You want to see the final polished product. You go, oh man, it's amazing. Because it's a team of people that go behind that and make it get to that place.
Give it that magic.
Let them do that work, right? Let them go on set. Don't go fucking take the photos behind the scenes. And don't data breach and leak stuff. I mean, and then that's just like the fan base, right? But like you were mentioning earlier, Calvin, like there's the people who work at these companies whose information is leaked, the passports. Like it's, I mean, come on, man. Like, and for what? What do you get from that? And then I'm glad they didn't pay, because it's like, don't reward bad behavior. Fuck that.
Yeah. Exactly. Lance, you hit the nail on the head earlier about your point regarding, the news outlets and all these media like covering it and being like showing it in a sense and talking about, right? There's this website that we usually follow. It's called Kotaku, right? And they did something where they put this is the article. It says 6 years ago, the most stylish RPG ever revived a dying genre. Okay. And that is clearly like a clickbait type of title, right? And what's happening is they're trying to get like here, come click on us, but you're kind of ruining the integrity of what you stand for as a media outlet. So like, yeah, you're getting the clicks right now, but in the future, people are going to deem you as like less reliable. Think about it. Like, do you think you're ever going to get a chance to like review Insomniac or, you know, have them on your platform or your media outlet or have an interview with them now after you did like you posted something like that about their work? No, they're not going to want to work with you at that point. They're like, no, you leaked our crap, like, or you helped leak our crap and help give it out to the world. We're not going to work with you. So I think there's a huge like integrity part of it, and there's a certain responsibility that these media outlets need to have to be like, all right, at a certain point, yes, this is juicy and this is great, but like if people want to find their own, great, but we're not going to be part of that. So
right, at the end of the day, it's journalism, right? To some degree, I wouldn't equate, you know, IGN to, you know, New York Times, but at the end of the day, it's still journalism. It's just its own little specific territory part of it that there should still be some kind of way that you operate within that, you know. And again, it doesn't exist without the product that's being made by these people. And how many people are like spending doing all that overtime to get Wolverine to look just right after all these years, just being like, wouldn't it be cool? Like, how dope was it when you saw that trailer for the first time? You thought, oh my God, they listened. They heard the people. It feels so good every time there's some big game reveal. And you go, oh my God, it's like they were in the room with me, my buddies, that one time when we talked about this 6 years ago. And now we finally get it, and it looks this fucking good. Even when it's just a clip, you're like, that's perfect.
Right.
I don't need it anymore. I see what they're doing. It's going to land somewhere in there. That's plenty. And then you just daydream and shoot the shit with your buddies about, wouldn't it be cool if it was like this game? If it was like this game. You don't want to know yet. You want to know when it comes out. It's the same when Spider-Man 2 came out. I had pre-ordered it, and the night it dropped, I told my girlfriend, I was like, Spider-Man 2 comes out tomorrow. So I'm gonna be out of commission for a little bit.
Yep.
So I fired up and just sitting looking at it going, oh man, I don't know anything about this. Nothing other than
you just went in there. You just went in there completely dark.
Yeah.
Best way to do it.
It was all the better for that. Like we don't need to know so damn much. We're fucking nosy as an audience.
100%. Yeah, I think you nailed it. You both of you guys nailed it. It sucks. At the end of the day, it sucks. And I think like IGN, like those big companies, they have a platform, but they also have a certain audience. Like we care, right? I think more so of like the people that are in somewhat of an industry kind of like understand that notion. But people that are just like Joe Schmoes that don't give a fuck, they're like, oh shit, Wolverine. Like, yeah, I give me as much information. Like all the casuals that don't really care or don't even know who's behind, you know, working on these titles. Like they don't know it's a Sony title. They don't know it's Insomniac. Like they don't know who they are. They're just like, oh, it's a game that's coming out. PlayStation's coming out. Give me all the information. Same thing with GTA. Like everybody eats that shit up. All the casuals are just like, yeah. And to some extent, I do too. Like I'm not gonna lie. I looked at the leaks, but it's a different perspective of I did it for my own like purpose, but I'm not gonna share that with the audience. You know what I mean? Like
I don't think there's such thing. You decide for yourself as a fan. Fuck it, I'm a little curious.
Yeah,
I want to see 100%. This. It's the difference of going, I got this platform and I'm gonna this is gonna get me more traffic. I'm just gonna fucking run with this. I think that's where there's a little bit of a difference. You know what I mean?
100%.
Right.
Staying on the topic of Sony here, news number 2. Sony pressures studios to make big cuts due to increased development costs. Files have revealed Sony-owned studios were recently under pressure to make staff cuts amid big development costs that shine a light on the state of AAA budget games. As reported by Kotaku, Rob, the files also contain meetings notes that claim, quote, there will be one studio closure at PlayStation Studios. It is currently unclear if this claim remains valid. Sony and Insomniac are yet to comment. So obviously this kind of adds up with the recent layoffs that Sony has had in the year or so, right? With Media Molecule, which is a Little Big Planet, Bungie with Destiny, and Naughty Dog with Last of Us. So yeah, man, it's just gonna continue happening with these budget costs and constant closures. But the big thing is for me is like Sony looking at one of their studios and saying, all right, which one are we shutting down? Because to me, Sony does a pretty good job at least of keeping them in check and trying to kind of like keep the peace and keeping everybody afloat. Obviously, this year has been kind of different with, again, Bungie, Media Molecule, and then Last of Us, like I just mentioned. But I don't know. What do you guys think with just the recent layoffs in general, but also just the high budgets of these AAA titles, because they have been astronomical this past year alone?
Just do what Nintendo's doing. Literally follow what they're doing.
What are they doing, Rob?
They're not laying people off.
Do we know that? I mean, we don't see that.
I don't think they are, but they're a little more selective. But the cost needs to come down for these games. We don't need these mega big titles anymore. Because, you know, I get it. Like God of Wars and Elden Rings, like I know they're huge and stuff like that, but I don't think has From Software laid off people, from what I know.
As far as we know, no.
Right. And it seems like it's only companies that are not doing ridiculously well. Right. We look at Bungie, right? Like they didn't have a great year, right? So they had to lay people off. I think Epic, that had a couple of people laid off and stuff like that. But like before Fortnite OG came out, did they have the greatest year ever? I don't know, right? So, but you won't hear really Insomniac, you know, a lot of these other companies that treat their employees right, Santa Monica, right? Like they really are kind of, they do a good job of projecting
piece,
and whoever's their project manager is keeping all the pieces in line and not having to have unnecessary positions or this and stuff like that, because they know the caliber of what they're putting out is going to sell. So I just think it's more of just Sony's been like, you create this, and just make it work with the money we're giving you, and then you figure it out. So
I think it, like, so we had a conversation, we met up yesterday, for those that don't know, but we talked about a little bit of just how important for us, like individuals, like, oh, I prefer 20-hour experiences. Lance said he prefers, like, you know, higher, like 40, 50, 60-hour longer experiences. And the issue with that, and this is going to what, you know, stick with me here. Obviously the longer the game, the more budget that is needed to make that game kind of, you know, upfloat, right? And so those games, those titles, you're looking upwards of like over 100,000. I'm sorry, even more. Like we're looking at the millions at this point when it comes to the budgets for these titles. That's insane to think that God of War, you can think of Ratchet and Clank, Spider-Man. I think Spider-Man, we talked about it last week, Rob. It was like upwards of like 300 mil or something. Is that like a stupid number to think? Right?
No,
that sounded about right.
It was pretty insane. Yeah.
It's crazy. And that's not even I mean, it's open world considered, but that's not anything near like what Elden Ring is, or, you know what I mean? So the bigger the title, the more cost it's going to be. I feel like if we're leaning towards that direction, it's just going to get worse. Getting these titles into a smaller scale would help the budget. I don't know if that's the answer, but I feel like, I don't know, man, just the way it's going right now, it's not good.
But I don't think there's a way to give, it's about the experience, right? There's a way to give an audience a solid experience without it needing to be the AAA title, without it needing to be the cinematic experience, which I think what Sony is doing is a lot of trying to translate what you've seen in previous titles that had the big stories, that had the cinematic feeling, Last of Us, the God of War reboot, and then going, okay, well, how do we like keep doing that? Because like this is what fucking kills. And even though Ghost of Tsushima is no different, right?
Mm-hmm.
While at the same time, they're also trying to step into like film and television. I think instead of focusing so much on film and television, I wonder if it's possible for them to take a step back from what they're doing with film and television, especially with like the PlayStation Studios, divert a little bit of that back into keeping their stable of staff, and then look at what you can do with smaller titles. Like look at Sabotage Studios game from 2018, I think, The Messenger. The Messenger was fucking amazing. It's a fun game. It's fun. There's a ton of good dialogue. You read everything.
Mm-hmm.
There's no spoken dialogue at any point, and yet still it's a side scroller. Mm-hmm. And they find mechanics in there that are like this. It works like a love letter into Nintendo's Ninja Gaiden, while at the same time like giving you these new interesting mechanics that make playing the game longer and longer and longer feel like an enjoyable and new experience. And to me, that's where you start to get in those longer hours of gameplay where I go, okay, I can get like 30 hours in there. I can get 50 hours, 60 hours in this game. Because there's these fun things to explore and go, I haven't figured out this room. There's something else. Oh, I got to go find that thing. And now it's simple. It's just a fucking platform. Then what? Well, what little box can be broken? Is that a weak wall? Let me jump up there and figure that out. Or how do I get through this room? What's the puzzle? You know, I mean, Tomb Raider is the same thing where you get into those games and there's these puzzle aspects to the game. I go, you don't need it to necessarily always be this elaborate narrative experience. And while I thoroughly enjoy those, and especially seeing the way that the voiceover talent that we're getting nowadays and the advent of motion capture, I mean, it just rapidly propels these games into different territory. But does every fucking title need to be that? No.
Right.
No.
Right.
Look, Naughty Dog, prime example. Their fucking tentpole was Crash Bandicoot. There's a reason that for Nintendo, it's Mario. For Sega, it's Sonic. And for PlayStation, it's Crash Bandicoot. He's the tentpole character. He's like almost like the mascot. Where are those titles at? You know, run some more of those titles where, and I don't know, but I would assume that that's cheaper than doing Last of Us 3. You see what I mean?
Yeah, 100%.
And then
100%
make money enough to go, great, now we're in the green. Now let's go do Last of Us 3.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, last thing I'll say about this is it's gonna get worse until it gets better, right? Is that the saying? is that how they say it? It's gonna get worse until it gets better? Yeah, some shit like that. You know what the fuck I'm trying to say. So
I think
it sounded good in my head, you know what I mean? And then as I started saying it, I'm like, yeah, that's, I don't know. Yeah, it's gonna be tough to see what next year holds because I feel like there's just gonna be more layoffs. But for the most part, like you said, and I think Rob, you said this yesterday, I believe, but you mentioned something about these there's a certain amount of things that you can do to, like, if you want a huge open world title, say Elden Ring, it needs to be filled with things that the player enjoys. It can't be this fluff. It can't be this like just complete open world full of nothing, right? There has to be things that are enjoyable to the player and that there's content in each side quest that you make or each side quest that you do. I think you had issues with Starfield, right? Because although it is an open world experience, it kind of fell off on some of those aspects, right? And that's kind of like the caveat to that. But yeah, man, we'll see. I don't know what the future holds when it comes to like open world titles as opposed to more shorter, smaller narrative titles. I'm more on the camp of narrative titles just because that's just more my jam. I prefer Sony titles that kind of give you that story beat by beat. Whereas some people like Elden Ring, where it's like not really story driven, but there is a story in there, just more gameplay. We'll see what happens, man. I don't know. At this point, there's no telling how things are gonna go. Yeah, Rob, go ahead. You have something to say?
I was just gonna say, I think I said it yesterday too, but you look at games like Among Us.
Yeah,
game is made by like 4 people or something, like something crazy, like some insane, and it sold millions. Like so many people bought that game, and again, it's the budget for it was very, 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 very cheap.
Well, those are like those are just like those are games that you just don't expect to just. That game came out a while ago and it was just kind of like hidden for a while up until streamers started actually playing that game, and that's when it popped off, right? So it's kind of hard to like predict.
Yeah, but they can also put the money towards marketing the game better for their game and stuff like that. Like that's where that money goes. I'm like, hey, streamer, play this game and try and get it to pop off, right? And just they can work their dollars that way instead of being like, we're gonna have to like make the biggest AAA, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? Like just here's a good game that's fun, but it's not gonna cost us like an arm and a leg to make. I mean, people are still gonna get a good experience off of it. So I would like to see more of those kind of promoted games because streamers, like you said, are the people that are going to be promoting the games now.
Hell yeah.
Dude, and there's so many simple titles like that, man. Like, you just played Inside?
Yes, I played Inside. Yep. Mm-hmm. Good.
Yeah. Yep.
It's a beautiful game. I would love to see more of those titles. But you mentioned something here that was interesting in terms of like getting streamers to get a title to pop off. And I had never really thought about that until you were saying it. It's such an interesting train of thought, right? Like how do you feel like that's any different than, say, like having a basketball player wear a branded shoe? Or do you feel like it's like, oh, like do the marketing route and like run it this way? But because like society's just changed, where this exists now, right? Like the popular streamer with millions of views and the huge following plays a game, you go, well, how do we get this kid to play our game?
Yeah. It's a form of marketing, right? I think it's just another form of marketing. I think it kind of lines up with having a basketball player wear your shirt. You know what I mean? Like you said, it just helps kind of push and promote whatever it is that you're promoting. Like for streamers, for example, that's where everyone goes, man. Twitch is the thing right now. Everyone kind of jams with streamers, and they're always constantly seeing what's their next game, what they're doing. And if you promote something well with a streamer, chances are people are gonna try it out, play it, watch it, look like there's gonna be eyes on it 24/7, and that's gonna give you a better chance than spending the money to promote X, Y, and Z, doing all this, killing your budget for that, when you can kind of do this route. And I feel like it makes it a little bit easier for both parties. You know what I mean?
I think with this, a referral goes a long way. Like for me, a referral is the ultimate way of marketing for people, right? You can have all the gaming outlets say this is a 3, this is a 5 out of 5, 4.5 out of 5, but you have someone tell you like, yo, Lance, this game, Final Fantasy 16, dope. Like you need to play it. It is blah blah blah. Like do it. You're gonna be more inclined to play that game versus like if you just see like it's a good game. I know it's a good game, but I'm like, is it for me? I don't know if I want to spend the time. But if you have someone literally telling you like in your ear, like this is a dope ass game, I think you can take them up. Yeah.
Because if you get your buddy telling you and you say, well, him and I have talked about a lot of games. And we've played games together. There's certain things we're similar on that we like. I say the game is shit. You should try it. You're gonna go try that game. You want to know, or it's like back in the day. You go to your buddy's house and they've got the game you don't have, and you're like, "What the fuck is that?"
Right.
You go, "Can I borrow this? Have you beat this? Because I want to play this now."
Yep.
Like that thing, but where you watch somebody play and you're like, "That looks like it's a shit. I want to try that. I want that experience. I'm gonna go get it now."
A perfect example, and we always talk about this, when Rob, I had Persona 4, and I had it on my Vita, and I'm like, after I beat that game, I'm like, here's my Vita, play this fucking game because you need to play this game. I gave you a console. You
a new one too at that.
It was brand new, but I'm like, this man needs to play this game because I know how much this like changed my life. You need to fucking play this game. And sure enough, like, we heard about this game, but we've never Rob probably didn't, but I was like, I'll try it out. And I fell in love with it. Rob fell in love with it because I gave him my console to play. And sure enough, he's a Persona fan now. So that 100% works, right? As opposed
to how much Persona shit have I bought? How much Persona shit have you bought after that? You know what I mean? So it's just, that's the ultimate way, is like they need to just work the marketing out with some of these lower budget games, and they're going to get the return on it if they market it correctly. And it is, fundamentally a good game. Like if it's a bad game, it's a bad game, right? But that's how we kind of combat the whole thing about, the budgets are getting too high to create big titles. You know what I mean? Like that's the only way, in my opinion. So,
do you think there's a way for them to scale down on graphic fidelity? Like, I feel like everyone's trying to like reach the max, like, God of War is peak or something, or Horizon Forbidden West is peak. Let's try to top that. Let's try to get to the best looking game out of this console, out of this PC. Is that necessary at this point? Because I feel like most, if not a majority of these games now just look great. Like there's not a bad looking game that I'm like, oof, like this shit looks like PS2. You know what I mean?
Where we're at for the next decade, it would still be fine. Like, and because at a certain point, you playing the video game, I don't necessarily need it to look exactly like real life. Some part of the charm and part of the appeal is that suspension of disbelief, is the bit of the step away from your own reality, just fall into this one. And you turn the game on, and like there's a lot of first-person shooters coming out now where like it looks photorealistic, and I go, I don't know how fun that would be though. You know what I mean? It's like too real. Now I'm like, it's like I feel like I'm watching somebody with a body cam on YouTube. I'm like, well, I don't know, that's not as cool, man. I like the
you want that fakeness.
Yeah, I want a little bit. I want a little bit of imagination in there. Like if I
want them ragdolls. You know what I mean? Yep. I hear that.
Listen, same thing with movies, right? If you if you just showed what is being filmed, like right there, right, like what's on set, you're gonna get bored. It's not, you don't want that. You want like everything that goes after. You want the editing, you want the angle shots, you want like all of that stuff. That's what really is the movie, because the movie just being filmed without any of the stuff that the post processing is like, there's not, you're just like, oh, okay, it's not as good, right? It's missing something. And that's the same thing with video games, is that it needs kind of that magic to make it work. So if you make it too realistic, it's not that great. Yeah,
that's fair. Let's keep the train rolling with PlayStation here. PS5 remasters of original God of War trilogy is rumored for 2024. According to a new rumor, PlayStation is remastering the original God of War games, aka the original trilogy, for PS5. We're looking at PS2's game, God of War. We're looking at God of War 2. We're looking at PS3's God of War 3 to return possibly 2024. The rumor came from Nick Baker, who stated, quote, "Now I'm not 100% sure if it will be announced in 2024 and released in 2024 or released in 2025. That part I'm not clear, but what I have heard is OG God of War trilogy remaster exists."
Yep.
Yeah. God of War 3, baby. Like, that's, for me, I'm a huge God of War 3 fan. I put it up there with probably the best God of War still till this day, compared to 2018 and Ragnarok, just because it's just a violent. I know, and a lot of people say that. I'm like, really? Like, it's just one of those games, man, that I can't help but appreciate the violence in it. And I understand a lot of people's opinions of like, well, Kratos needed to mature, Kratos needed to do this and that. It's a more mature game. Totally understand.
But is that why
once in a while?
Exactly.
Once in a while, I just want to rip people's heads off. You know what I mean? I want Kratos to rip people's heads off and just be brutal, pissed off.
Right.
I just love that shit. You know what I mean? So
and then surprise, there's a story, and you go, "Oh, great! I didn't need all that, but this is a shit. Thank you so much."
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So I'm totally down for this, man. I do. I thought this was gonna be in the works at some point, especially with how successful God of War 2018 and Ragnarok has been. So I'm looking forward to this if it does release in 2024. If not, I mean, right now we're playing Valhalla, or we finished Valhalla, and that was a masterpiece, dude. Like, I would put that even. Dude, you're gonna. I mean, if you're into games like that, if you're into like the roguelike experience, man, it's gonna be phenomenal, dude. I can't wait for you to play it.
Okay, I just gotta ask: did you have a favorite boss? Okay, do you have a favorite boss fight from the two remakes?
The two remakes from specific
God of War titles.
Some of the dragon fights were pretty cool,
I guess, but
I'd have to like look. So we're gonna exclude God of War 1 because I don't think the God of War 1 got it. I don't know though, because of the first fight in God of War 2018 when you fight Baldur, is pretty insane. Like, that just sets the tone of the game where you're just like, like breaking through. Yeah, exactly. Like, every time people like, I'm playing that and people come into the room and watch me play that game, are like, what is happening right now? I'm like, exactly. So I feel like the first one was really awesome. It like set the tone.
I agree. That's one of those games where I went in completely blind because I wanted to experience that game to the fullest, right? And so I had no idea who this guy is. I don't know anything about this guy.
Yeah.
Seeing that play out, my jaw was on the floor. I was like, what the fuck is happening? Like, this is exactly what I wanted.
Out these tattoos, you're like, I'm gonna beat this guy's ass.
No,
right?
Is this guy crazy? And he starts throwing these punches. You're like, oh shit! But even like you're saying, going back to earlier, going in blind, I had no clue they were even going Norse mythology for this. The only thing I had known, I don't think I even seen a trailer. All I knew was it's a new God of War game. Fuck yeah, I'll download this. And it starts. I'm like, why are we in the snow? What is this about? We're supposed to be in Egypt or some shit. What is this?
And
you get going in this story, you get involved. I think one of my favorite beats in that story is when you're coming out of the dwarf, like the underground. I think it's like the dwarf dungeon, castle chamber, whatever that is. and him and Atreus drink together for the first time. And it's such a simple, small, short beat. But it's not like the father lets his son taste beer for the first time. Ah, ew. I thought, wow, I love how these games have gotten to this place where we still get to kick ass. We still get everything we love about Kratos, everything we love about God of War, the puzzles, the gore, the carnage. And they go, here's a little story beat in there that just make you feel good. And then continuing that into like the second game, where you still get similar beats like that.
Right.
So
yeah,
good.
it's beautiful, especially like for me as a father. It did hit home a lot of times. Right? There were moments in the game where I'm just like, yeah, I felt that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
But
heartstrings.
At the end of the day, man, I just want Kratos to rip people's heads off. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so it's just great. But I understand the path that it's going. I totally get it. But that's why I'm excited for this, because it just brings me back to like just me being a kid. You know what I mean? Or a teenager, and just like ripping people's heads off. Like, yeah, fuck this shit. You're like, so yeah, cool times.
Nice way to end that one. That was really nice.
Cool times. Moving on. So that actually concludes our news for this week here. I told you guys not much to talk about, but we're gonna move on to in-game chat right now, where we're just gonna take it kind of simple. This is the last episode of the year, obviously, so we're just gonna talk about what we thought this year gave us, our favorite moments of 2023 gaming edition, right? Our favorite games of 2023 and our most anticipated games of next year. So I guess I'll start with Rob first. Rob, you have a favorite moment of this year that happened that was like, yeah, this is dope?
Favorite moment? That's a tough one. I feel like there were so many. I'm gonna be honest. That Valhalla trailer or that drop where they were just like, here you go.
Popped off.
Yeah, I was just like, what? You mean it's coming out next week and it's free? Excuse me? That was hype. I think the Asus ROG Ally coming out was pretty cool. Final Fantasy 16 was also really cool. You know what, for me personally, I think this is I think when we went to PAX East in Boston this year and we went to go see the Final Fantasy 16 panel in the theater, that was like really cool for me to watch. That was like a big moment for me in gaming wise. Like that was like, I don't think I've ever really seen, especially for a game that I really, really loved, right? Or wanted to say those are probably the two that I'm
to piggyback off of that. I think that, but also being at PAX and actually interviewing people and,
that was cool.
Actually really talking to developers and really discussing their games and having just that moment of kind of like that IGN feel, sort of like interviewing people and just knowing what their game is about and their appreciation, just be like, oh, thanks, man. Like, yeah, I'll talk to you. Like, they don't know who we are. We could be like anybody, you know what I mean? And they're just like willing to talk to us and just have a nice conversation based off of their game. So that was really cool. But real quick, I just want to say also that was cool, but the whole Microsoft and Activision deal thing was a major topic throughout this whole year. And I think that was a pivotal moment in this gaming in the gaming industry as a whole, just because of how impactful and how massive that thing was, right? And so that would probably, I don't know if it's my favorite moment, but it's definitely, I guess, if it would be like a impactful moment, that would definitely be one of those.
What about you, Lance? What is yours? Anything that you were like, oh my god, this year was awesome? I love it.
Microsoft gets brought up, it just stings, because one of the moments I was really excited for came with that word, exclusive, and it was Hellblade 2. I Hellblade. I was like, and they dropped footage, and I said, oh my god, it's even better.
Yep.
I can't wait to see what they do with this and expanding on it. There's giants now and all this shit. And there's mad people. I'm like, oh my god, it's gonna be, the gameplay looked incredible.
Yes.
Xbox exclusive. I said, you motherfuckers gonna make me go get this.
Dude, just get Game Pass. That's it. Get Game Pass. You're good.
I have to get Hellblade. Or I have to beat Hellblade. I feel like I didn't beat the first one. I feel like that's a game that I need to do it. Right. I just need to play.
1,000.
The whole walkthrough of that journey for what that final level is, in terms of like the mechanic of playing it, it's very worth it. It's very rewarding. But now, now that's as a general fan, but as a Final Fantasy VII fan, 1990.
You guys are eating good, bro. You guys are eating good.
Oh man, anything they drop for that is so exciting to me. But the most recent one, where I believe in the trailer, there's Ares singing, which was always kind of a cool thing in Final Fantasy, where like you get 10 and 10-2, where there's like Yuna singing, and there's this sort of this appeal to it. Or Final Fantasy 9, I believe there's like a mission. I think it's 9. There's a mission you can play where you can put on like a little bit of a play and be a part of the play. And so they're bringing Loveless into the game.
I love that.
Mostly it's going to be like a thing where they sort of revamp the idea of like people love this in another title where you could partake in this a little bit, which is cool because it sort of like goes right back to like the whole Corneo story or Don Corneo story of like the first disc. And going, great, here's this thing that's not really a combat-driven narrative, but you get to be involved. And I think with any RPG game, it all harkens back to Dungeons and Dragons, right? Tabletop RPG with you and your buddies, just imagination. And that's the shit. So if you get to translate something from that experience into this massive title and go, for this chunk here, you don't have to do it. But if you want to try some other stuff and like get away from combat for a bit, but still be in this world, here are some things you can do. And I respect the hell out of them for doing that. But I mean, it's Square Enix. What do we expect, right? Like,
right. 100%.
Real quick to talk about Final Fantasy VII. I have a theory what's going to happen.
Oh, come on, let's do it.
All right. Kelv, you might want to cover your ears, but I don't think you really care because Final Fantasy VII has been out for so long.
Honestly,
you know what happens.
Lance was talking for a good solid like 5 minutes. I had no fucking clue what he was saying. You know what I mean?
All right.
No idea about Final Fantasy. And I was like, okay, I guess there's people in there.
This fucking guy. This feels sacrilegious.
It is. It's crazy. It's crazy. I just can't. I'm about to bonk you with that buster sword back there. No, but you know the thing with Aerith and Sephiroth, right? Do you know what happens between those two?
Are you asking me?
No, I'm talking to Kelvin. I know you know what happens, but do you know in gaming culture what happens with Aerith and Sephiroth at the end of the game?
No.
Ooh, don't tell.
Do you know?
No.
Okay. Don't. You don't know anything about that?
The Sephiroth steal Cloud's girl? Like what's
okay? He doesn't know. Okay. All right. So Lance, all I'm gonna say is that part will change. That part will change.
I didn't expect this to be your theory. Okay, go ahead.
That part will change because Zack is back.
Okay, let's do this.
Something's gonna happen with Zack.
He's not gonna die. He already died. He already died.
He might die.
He already died though. So for him to come back and die,
oh, you know
that makes absolutely no sense.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting you to know Zack. That's deep dive.
I'm telling you, man. I'm trying to get into the lore, but hey, man,
dude, how have you been a gamer for this long and don't know what happens to Aerith? Like that's insane.
Just play the original. It still holds up.
The original, dude. I can't.
Play on your Asus ROG Ally, bro. Just think. Pretend it's like Sea of Stars or something. Like
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. Anyways,
okay,
but
I have a theory. I want to run by you.
Okay. Yeah.
Tell me what you think. I think what they're doing is, I'm curious. I almost don't want it to be this, but I can't get away from the fact I think it might be cool. I think they're going to do a parallel universe thing where you get, here's the main cast of heroes, and then here's a version where Zack is the one who comes back. The only reason I think this is because you just got the Crisis Core, right? You play Zack, you'd have a blast with Zack. So why not continue with that? Especially when you're showing him so much in the trailer. But in the trailer, not this last trailer, the one prior to that, they're showing footage of the fight in Midgar, but it feels like you lose that battle. And you see Barrett and Tifa and I think it's Red 13 getting wheeled away into the gurney like they're dead. I think it's like Tifa's arm falls out. That's not the beat of, well, she'll be all right. Her face is in a blanket, her arm falls out. This bitch is dead. So I go, well, why is that a part of the story? What is that narrative? And it's when Zack, and then there's another shot where Zack's walking up to Midgar and it looks outside just like it looks in the news coverage when they're carting the bodies away. So I'm curious if what they're going to do is run two narratives and then somehow intersect them. which would be the shit. Could you imagine having Cloud and Zach on the same team? Oh man.
I again take whatever I say. You do throw that shit out the door, but I think that's the whole point of bringing him back at some right. Like that's the whole point of him and Cloud, especially going back into this universe, but also playing and again, correct me if I'm wrong, playing like the memories that he's had in the past, right? Yeah. You're gonna play those out at some point. Mm-hmm. At some point, it's gonna lead to you guys being together and fighting together. And also, I spoiled it. I already know what happens to Aerith, which is terrible. But yeah. What? Listen, man.
Is it Aries or is it Aerith? Because when I got it back in the day, it said Aeris in the book. But
I always said Aerith.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Well, no, I think when Cloud says it, he says Aerith.
So see, this is why I asked, right? Back in the 90s when I got the game, strategy guide said Aries. The manual in the book said Aries. When her name populated for the first time in game, Aries. But supposedly there's a deeper coded version of the game that is for Japan is Aerith. I guess that they don't have like a letter for S or something like that.
Maybe. I never heard of that before. That's crazy.
I don't know. Okay. The first time I saw Aerith was Kingdom Hearts 1, and I was like, this game, what the fuck is this? That's not how you spell it.
Right. That's how you spell it. Yep. Yeah. No, I do think that that thing is not gonna happen to her, and I think Zach is gonna come and like deflect it or something, or like block it from happening. So
it's like not killing Dumbledore, not killing Gandalf. You know what I mean?
But I think Zach might die again.
You need
I can't.
That galvanizes a team. I would say this: if it's not her, it's got to be somebody.
Cloud? You think Cloud's gonna die and Zach will take his place?
Well, that's interesting because then at the end of the game, if you're Zach facing off Sephiroth, is that a better arc?
People will ride if Cloud dies. I think people would actually ride if Cloud died. 100%. Yeah. You can't kill him because people are like, no, you can't kill Cloud. But
you kill Cloud, you're like waiting for the third title to come out. No, you go play as fucking Zach.
Zach is all right. I'm gonna be honest.
No, Zach is a homie.
Cool. He ain't no Cloud.
He's cool. Yeah, exactly. He's cool, but he's no Cloud. And Cloud, I don't know. Cloud, he's cool, but like he's also just like.
I love that Kevin has all this opinion. He still haven't played the game yet. Like,
I know. I have played Remake. I played Remake.
Oh, you have?
And I left. Oh yeah, I played Remake, but I just didn't fuck with it like everybody else. Like I was while Rob was like gushing at the end of it, I was like, when does this end? Like, am I almost done with this? Like, and not no shade. Like, I swear to God, I really don't want to throw shade on this game because I do appreciate it. And I know, like, I played Final Fantasy games, but like, this is not something that I was excited for. And playing it, I appreciated what I was playing. I was like, all right, this is cool. But at a certain point, again, it goes back to just like my lifestyle. I'm like, this has been 20 hours. Like, I thought this would have ended like now, you know what I mean? But I'm still going. So, but it's cool, but it was just too much.
Original, bro. Just run the original.
Play the original, you'll understand. You'll get it. You'll get it once you play the original. You'll understand everything.
I think it does make a huge difference. It's like when people say all the time, like, "Oh, the book was better than the movie." It's I think it's that kind of situation where if you get the original, run through it, fall in love with that story, with those graphics and all the stuff that they just had then, and then come back and run this one now.
Well, here's the thing. It's like if it didn't hook me with the state of the art, like graphics that we have now, the motion cap, the the voice acting, how is the original gonna grab my attention? You know what I mean?
That's a fair argument.
That's a you problem.
Because
that's a you problem, man.
Yeah, I mean, because your palette, you have a better palette. You know, you have more. You're open to more things now as a gamer. You understand. I don't know. Maybe again, you might hate it. You might put it in and be like, I can't do this. I can't do it. I can't take the graphics. I can't take the menus. But
listen, I know I'm the black sheep when it comes to this conversation, but I'm gonna stand by it. You know what I mean? I'm gonna stand by it.
It's fair.
Favorite game of 2023. What do you guys got?
Ooh,
that's a tough one.
Meaning game released in 2023 or just what we've played this year?
Released, I would say.
Yeah, I would say released. Yeah, I would say released. That's a tough one. Like I didn't prepare for this either, so I'm thinking about it right now.
That's hard.
That's very tough.
I'll just go while you guys are thinking about it because I think I have mine. It's two. It's Final Fantasy 16 and Tears of the Kingdom are probably my two favorite. I put 100 hours into Tears.
Yeah.
I'll probably say it's one favorite. I'll probably say that's up there. I just love that play. I literally am playing Twilight Princess right now. I got it on my PC right now, and it's a freaking 15-year-old game, something like that at this point. So I think Twilight Princess, Tears of the Kingdom was my favorite.
I think
what about you, Kelf? What?
I think I want to go Ragnarok.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, Ragnarok was so incredible. But then Elden Ring also came out that same year, and you didn't play Elden Ring. So, but Ragnarok was amazing. Ragnarok was just like a complete circle for that, you know?
Yeah, it checked all the boxes for me. Where there was puzzles, there's carnage,
yeah,
story. I love the finality that it has, while still feeling like if they wanted to do another one, they could, but they don't have to. I love
that's perfect.
Stuff like that. I go, great. If you don't do it, if you don't go back to it, no worries. But there's just enough there that if you wanted to, it would be. I would love to come back and play more.
Yeah, that's why you should really play Valhalla. But
yeah.
Like when you close, it's like you could close the book on it, you'll be okay with the book. But if you want to make a new book, I'm not gonna hate you for it, right?
Right.
It's good.
If you would have asked me this question a month ago, I would have probably said like Final Fantasy 16 because that was I enjoy that game to the fullest. But Valhalla, and again, crazy because it's just like a kind of like a side thing, right? But Valhalla was one of the things that I missed from God of War because it has that nostalgic feel to it as well. But also playing the roguelike experience is what really got me hooked, right? And so I'm gonna go with Valhalla, and it's a DLC for
two God of Wars. Okay, all right, ladies and gentlemen. I still haven't played Alan Wake 2. I guess still gotta play that. I'm gonna play it before this year ends. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna beat it obviously before this year ends.
That's literally 3 days from now. So
yeah, I'm not gonna beat it, but I'm gonna play it. So just to say I played that game in 2023. So
I guess I'm definitely gonna play that. Probably start it up next year, but definitely that's gonna be on my list there. I'm still playing Liza P, guys. You know what I mean? So stick with me, but I'm getting there. And then our most anticipated game of 2024 is gonna be the cap of this episode here. What are you guys looking forward to next year?
I already know.
I don't even fucking know. Hang on, let me think about this.
You know what it is, Lance. Come on.
Yeah, it's coming out next month. No, or February.
Yeah, Rebirth. It's got to be Rebirth.
That's it, and then
that's it. That's all I care. I really
got a Midgar. Now you're.
I love this guy talking. Oh god. I'm curious. I think you'll like Rebirth more. I hate that this became a Final Fantasy 7, but no, I think you're gonna like Rebirth more than Final Fantasy 1.
Yeah,
the 7
I think so too. Something about it, like even the trailers, I'm like, yeah, this looks like right up my alley. Not that remake didn't, but this looks cool.
So yeah, what are yours? Lance, is yours remake or Rebirth?
Yeah, Rebirth. Yeah. I mean,
come on, guys.
It's like one of the first video games I played. Like literally, I was one of those kids who I couldn't read real good, and so I would like stutter, and then I'd mix up my R's and W's and L's, and so I was a kid. If I got asked to read, I would cry. And then we got Final Fantasy in like second grade, and like that game, you have to read everything. Yeah. And it's dramatically like my fucking comprehension just went wow. After that, I was like, I fucking love this game. This is amazing. It's like the best thing ever created. So for me, anytime anything Final Fantasy 7 is going to happen, I'm like, yep, that's it. That's the excitement for next year. Can't wait for it.
Yeah, man.
That new Prince of Persia game looks cool, by the way. It's coming out next month. It does look, yeah.
That looks fire. For next year, dude, I don't really have a game that I'm like really anticipating. No, I really don't.
No games next year that that there's nothing there, right? There's just Persona 3 Reload. You're not.
Well, yes, I'm excited for those, but like it's games that I'm hoping release 2024, which I don't think it will. So, for example, like I don't think we're gonna get anything regarding like any Sony titles, right? Like anything that I'm looking forward to, like Stellar Blade, for example. Like I want to play that game. That's a game that I'm looking forward to. but I don't think that's coming out next year, or maybe I don't know. But that's
Yeah,
a game that I've been looking forward to for a while. Yeah, that's it. But nothing that like I'm anticipating like at the edge of my seat, waiting for it to like come out, like counting down the days. You know,
for sure. I think 2024 is going to be a down year. Not down year. I don't want to say it's down year, but I'm going to say like as far as like all the quality, great big AAAs that we love, it's going to take a break. Like we're going to take a break from it, and then
compared
2025
to
is going
this
to come
year.
out. Yeah, exactly. And 2025 is going to be insane. We're going to come back to insanity. So 2024 is going to be a little bit of a dry spell. Not. I'm not saying that in a negative way. You know what I'm saying? Like the caliber of. Did I say caliper or caliber of titles are going to be not as crazy as it was this year. So
for sure. See, now you guys making me feel bad. I should have a game for next year, but I just
Final Fantasy Rebirth. That's yours. Just adopt it, bro. That's yours now. There, I gave one.
So, because you've seen so many games get translated into movies or TV shows, are there any titles getting translated that you're looking forward to seeing that show or that movie of?
Ooh,
and I ask because, say again?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I just watched Gran Turismo the other day, and I had a very
low
expectation for it. And it was fucking amazing.
I thought it was really good too.
Yeah, I thought it was great. So now I'm curious, like, what things that are coming out next? Like, what are you guys looking forward to?
That's a really good question.
It's so easy for me.
Come on, bro.
Devil May Cry on Netflix.
Ooh.
Oh, okay.
Those are really good.
Can't wait. I'm gonna binge I hope they don't do the like release each episode week by week. I hope they just release it all at once. Yeah. I just please inject it into my brain. I need that.
I don't know if it's coming out next year, but I am hopeful and looking forward to see how the God of War show is gonna hold up. There is a God of War show confirmed.
Yeah, they got to fucking Triple H, man.
Yeah, right.
Just like him. He looks just like him.
100%.
Wait, who?
Triple H.
Yep.
There's a video.
I would be down for that.
And I was like, that's Kratos right there. That's him.
Yeah, right. I would be down for that. Yeah, I think that would probably be something that I'm looking forward to. And then I think there's a Horizon show that would kind of be cool. The concept of Horizon is amazing. Cool. I think it's so cool. I think it just doesn't translate that well gameplay wise, but for a show, I think that would be really dope. So I'm looking forward to those two things.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And then Fallout was pretty cool.
The show looks so good, and I've never played any games, but that show looks
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. So I've not been a huge Fallout fan either.
That might be the one for me.
Yeah. Again, that's another game that doesn't have the same issues as Horizon, but it does have a really good story. Like the concept of it is really cool. So they can. I mean, that's an easy like transition of a show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but do what you guys want. Just run these stories. It looks
do it well. Just do it fucking good. This is the pinnacle of like video game adaptations. I feel like, right? Like we've been having really good shows. Yeah, the golden era. We've been having really good shows, movies lately. Like you said, Gran Turismo. I had low expectations. I thought that shit was gonna be trash, right? And what was the acting top tier? No, but it was fine. It was good enough, and I think it was just a fun ride. Literally, exactly.
You invested in it, and you feel something. Like that's the job, right? Is to watch a thing, and everything that all those people put together should make you feel something. You know?
Yep. Exactly.
Yeah.
I wish the Last of Us show made me feel something like the game did, but
I like shots fired, but I love the show.
Fired. Okay, we could talk about that because that was
even the Nick Offerman episode.
That episode, listen, that episode and the episode that Druckmann directed, I think is episode 2. What I would have loved to seen happen was just let Druckmann direct it. I think the problem that happens with a lot of new shows now is that they want to move it around and get different feelings and flavors. They want to put all their eggs in one basket. So you get a different director each episode. You get somebody who does a pilot, sets a tone. Great. And then it's somebody else after that. But then tonally, it's just like the game of telephone. We're like, well, here's what the show should feel like. So here's what the show should fit. And it just changes along the way, and it stops being this thing. Like after the Druckmann episode, I thought, fuck yeah, this is it. Like the whole episode, the opening in Taiwan with the lady,
Yeah,
feel
that's
like,
crazy. You're like,
phenomenal. Yep.
You didn't even feel it in the game. In the game, you didn't feel like that, that in the beginning, but they did a really good job.
So you're a good person to ask, but why is it that they change directors for each episode? Like, is that just to kind of get things like fresh, or what's the deal with that?
I think on one hand, right? Okay, I think there's a matter of commitment from directors, right? Like, am I going to sign on to do 10 episodes of this thing? That's a fucking massive commitment, right?
Yeah.
Or do I do the pilot? I set the tone for thing. I fuck off and go do the movie I want to do, or do the show that I actually want to do, right? Mm-hmm. And then a lot of times, if it's a great opportunity to be handed to up and coming directors, like come do an episode of the show, you know? Because even if you look at the directors for the season 1 of Last of Us, there are directors in there who don't have. It's not like they have a ton of credits. There were a few directors that were international directors who had done like maybe 1 or 2 features in their native country. So it wasn't like they had like a whole bunch of like these heavy hitters coming in. So I was like, okay, what is the draw? What was the appeal? What were they looking for? Were they just looking for new voices to add to this? Like, and then I go, okay, well, if you're the studio, or in this case, HBO, the network, what is the appeal of going, okay, we're going to have all these different people instead of getting one person. But then I also think about Druckmann and I go, well, y'all motherfuckers not making another one at that point. It's not like Last of Us 3 is in development at that point. So then why you just don't direct all of them? Yeah. Or here's a better idea. I don't know if I should say this. This feels scandalous. Maybe just get like a different writer. You know what I mean? Like no hard feelings with Craig Mazin. Chernobyl was fucking fantastic, and I love what he did with Mythic Quest. I think having the story of Last of Us translated to television, where the medium does not allow you to participate, it needs to be in the hands of the people who crafted that experience specifically, because clearly it works. Like, look at these cutscenes. I forget the girl's name that wrote in Last of Us 2, Fiona something. I hope I'm not wrong about that. But you know, having her and Druckmann come together, like they crafted a beautiful story with the second game, and then we get this TV show and I go, just let them run the ball. Right. Let them run the ball. You know?
They know it more than anybody else.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And they clearly have proven that they can do it, right? Like, and then you have actors who are used to then being on screen versus just mocap. So great. And you've got great casting across the board. Excellent. Now run this differently. You know, let the team who created this thing come in and just do it.
So what you're saying is you did not like the Last of Us show.
I like less episodes. I like less episodes than I disliked.
Okay.
That's fair.
That's fair. That is fair. Also, we forgot about the what's it called? Sonic 3. Sonic 3 is coming out next year. That's gonna be hype.
Yeah, it's gonna be insane.
Shadow's coming out. We're going nuts. We're going all in, balls deep. You know what I mean?
Lost control.
I'm fucking excited. Yeah, guys. Yeah, that's gonna be the one for me, Sonic 3. But let us know what you guys think. Let us know on our social medias. What's your favorite game of 2023, and what are you guys anticipating for 2024? Guys, this has been the last episode of 2023. We'll be back next year for sure. Some new things, new updates. We'll keep you guys updated on our socials. But until then, we'll see you guys next time. Lance, thank you again for stopping by. Before we leave, how about you give everybody where they can find you and plug in everything you need to plug?
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me on Instagram at GoLanceGo, on Twitter at GoLanceGo, but swap those O's for zeros. And actually, no, there's been so much changing lately. Also on Instagram, there's a podcast that I've been helping to produce and starting to co-host at In Love with the Process Pod. You can follow us there. We've got a lot of great content coming up, a lot of good interviews. It's more of like focusing on like a lot of like industry insider, talking to everything from filmmakers, directors, producers, actors, voiceover. And there's even sections where, you know, our host Mike Pesci talked to chefs, firemen. It's just really diving into like what these different jobs, like even inside and outside of the business. And then in 2024, we're going to be unveiling a new segment as well that we're doing. So stay tuned for that.
Awesome.
Stay tuned for that, guys. Thank you guys for listening and watching. And until next time.